This was a massive spot to be in for such a young talent, to have a sold-out crowd completely behind her.
Eala from the Philippines could be the next big thing in pro tennis.
This is the goal, to do well on the WTA Tour. I'm super proud of what I was able to accomplish, but the end goal is to win Slam.
Alex Eala has just rewritten history, and the tennis world is still trying to catch up with what happened. She arrived in Dubai ranked 47th in the world, defeated a top 10 opponent, powered her way into the quarterfinals of a WTA 1000 event, and left the tournament holding a ranking no Filipino player has ever reached before. The numbers are on the board now, and her rivals have seen them. They are not smiling. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Alex Eala can break into the top 20 before the French Open? And how far do you see her going at Indian Wells and in Miami? Let's begin with the number, because the number tells the entire story. World number 32. That is the position Alex now occupies in the WTA rankings after her Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships quarterfinal run. She stepped into Dubai ranked 47th. She walks out ranked 32nd. That is a 15-spot surge from a single tournament where she did not win the title, did not reach the final, and exited in straight sets to the third seed. Yet she still leaves as world number 32, marking a new career high and the highest ranking ever achieved by a Filipino tennis player in the Open era. Take a moment to fully absorb that. Not just her personal best, but the best ranking any Filipino has ever reached in modern professional tennis. At just 20 years old, she has entered completely uncharted territory for her country, and she did it while losing in the quarterfinals. The mathematics behind that jump matters because it explains why a quarterfinal at a WTA 1000 carries such enormous weight. WTA 1000 tournaments sit just below the Grand Slams in the hierarchy of ranking points. A quarterfinal finish awards 215 ranking points, a total that is extremely difficult to collect at smaller events, even over several tournaments. In 1 week in Dubai, Eala secured points that might otherwise require months of steady results to accumulate. That is how the ranking system rewards players who elevate their level on the biggest stages. The climb from 47 to 32 is the direct result of those 215 points stacking onto the base she had already built, and world number 32 is not just a symbolic milestone. It is strategically powerful. 32 is the seeding cutoff at Grand Slams. Being inside the top 32 guarantees a seeded position at the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. Practically speaking, that protection means she cannot face another seeded player until at least the third round. The draw shields her from elite opponents in the opening 2 rounds, allowing her to settle into the tournament before encountering top contenders. For Eala, this is especially important heading toward the French Open. She exited Roland Garros in the first round in 2025, a result she will be eager to replace. Entering Paris in 2026 as a seeded player completely alters the structural landscape of her tournament. Instead of risking a first or second round clash against a top 10 opponent, she would have a protected path at least into the third round. For a player who has already proven she can compete with the elite, her record against top 10 players now stands at 3 wins and 3 losses. That breathing room early in a slam could be decisive. But before Paris, attention turns to the American swing, and this is where the narrative becomes even more compelling. Indian Wells begins on March 4th, followed by the Miami Open on March 17th. Both are mandatory WTA 1000 tournaments, meaning every top player in the world competes. The stakes are massive. The champion earns 1,000 points. The finalist collects 650. A semi-finalist receives 390. Even reaching the round of 16 delivers meaningful ranking rewards. Entering these events as a seed, which her ranking now strongly supports, gives Eala another structural advantage. In a 96-player draw, seeded players receive a first-round bye, while others battle through opening matches, potentially draining energy or picking up minor injuries. Seeds begin in the second round rested and prepared. Over the course of a long tournament, that advantage compounds. Now consider the math toward the top 20, and this is where competitors start to feel uneasy. The gap between world number 32 and world number 20 is roughly 800 to 1,000 points. On the surface, that appears substantial. Within the context of the American swing, it becomes far more manageable. If Eala reaches the round of 16 at both Indian Wells and Miami, she would add approximately 240 points. That alone would not be enough for the top 20, but it would narrow the gap meaningfully. However, if she recreates anything close to her Miami 2025 run, where she reached the semifinals as a wild card ranked outside the top 100, the ranking impact could be dramatic. A semifinal appearance at either tournament yields 390 points. 2 deep runs across these events could realistically push her into the top 25 before the clay season even begins. A breakthrough run in Miami specifically, a venue where she has already shown comfort and confidence, could bring her to the doorstep of the top 20 ahead of Paris. The Miami history is not hypothetical. In 2025, Eala entered that tournament as a wild card, meaning she received special entry despite a ranking too low to qualify directly. She transformed that opportunity into a statement run, defeating Elena Ostapenko and then Madison Keys, who was ranked 5th in the world at the time. That performance was not luck. It was proof of ceiling, at the time. She then defeated world number 1 Iga Swiatek in straight sets to reach the semifinals. Read that again carefully. A wild-card entrant beating the world number 1 in straight sets at a WTA 1000 tournament. That single performance placed Alex Eala on the global tennis map in a way that no collection of smaller tournament wins ever could. It proved that her left-handed topspin patterns, her aggressive baseline construction, and her relentless court coverage, shaped by years of development at the Rafa Nadal Academy, translate under the highest levels of pressure. The Miami courts suit her. The atmosphere suits her. The energy of the crowd, powered by a massive Filipino community that transforms the stadium into something resembling a home arena, suits her. This is no longer theory. It is evidence. She returns to Miami in 2026 not as a wild card outsider ranked beyond the top 100, but as world number 32. That shift in status changes everything. Seeding protection. A first-round bye. Draw insulation. Confidence built from Dubai. A full year of experience competing consistently at this level. The version of Eala arriving in Miami now is structurally and mentally different from the version that stunned the field in 2025. And that earlier version still reached the semifinals. The Filipino presence across American tournaments is not sentimental decoration. It is competitive leverage. In California and Florida, the crowd support is not neutral applause. It is loud, rhythmic, unified energy that can destabilize opponents accustomed to quieter European settings. Many players on tour are not prepared for a stadium that feels more like a basketball arena than a tennis court when momentum swings. Eala has openly said that competing in the United States rarely feels like playing away from home. When matches tighten and fatigue sets in, that support becomes a tangible advantage. It shows up in key points, long rallies, and emotional resilience. Her Dubai quarterfinal loss to Coco Gauff also provided valuable information. It exposed 2 clear areas for refinement: physical endurance deep into tournament weeks and serve reliability under sustained pressure. Neither issue is structural. Both are adjustable. The conditioning element, appearing slightly fatigued late in Dubai despite efficient match times, can be addressed through refined recovery cycles, targeted endurance blocks, and tournament-specific preparation. The training infrastructure at the Rafa Nadal Academy is built precisely for this kind of incremental improvement. The serve, meanwhile, is a longer-term development curve. Increasing pace and tightening margins may initially increase double faults as technical adjustments settle, but that temporary volatility is common when players upgrade their delivery. The objective is progression from vulnerability to neutrality, and eventually to weapon. Every elite server has endured a transitional period before the gains fully materialized. Eala and her coach Juan Bosch are aware of the margins that need sharpening. The trajectory is already visible. What Dubai confirmed beyond doubt, however, is her mental architecture. The win over Jasmine Paolini, surviving multiple match points, navigating tiebreak chaos, and finishing with a fearless forehand winner up the line, demonstrated something far more difficult to teach than technique. Under pressure, she did not unravel. She did not retreat. She accelerated. That is not a skill installed in a practice session. It is either embedded or it is not. In her case, it is embedded. Reaching world number 32 carries implications beyond individual milestones. It represents the highest ranking ever achieved by a Filipino tennis player in the Open era. That places Eala in historical context, not just sporting relevance. For decades, tennis in the Philippines existed as aspiration without sustained presence at the elite professional tier. She is not merely collecting wins, she is establishing possibility. From picking up a racket at 4 years old under her grandfather's guidance, to relocating for advanced training in Majorca, to navigating the difficult transition from junior promise to professional reality, none of those steps guaranteed this ranking. Every player ranked between 1 and 31 carries their own narrative of sacrifice and investment. Eala's journey has now placed her among them in a position no one from her country has previously occupied. The competitors studying the updated rankings understand what this means. 3 weeks ago, she was 47th. Today, she is 32nd. She has beaten 3 top 10 opponents. She has never been overwhelmed by elite competition. She is entering Indian Wells and Miami as a seeded player with momentum, confidence, and a crowd advantage waiting in both California and Florida. Indian Wells begins March 4th. The story is accelerating, not slowing. World number 32. A new career high. A national milestone. She exited Dubai with a loss and still walked away having made history. And now, with 3 weeks until the American swing begins, the tennis world is watching closely. Like, subscribe, and drop your predictions below.